In today's world of market volatility and uncertainty, your retirement plans need to be front and center. With ever-changing tax laws, healthcare worries, and an unpredictable stock market, don't overlook the vulnerability in your retirement planning. Protecting your family and estate will be difficult with shifting policies in Washington. It's more important than ever to keep an eye on retirement.
Hi, and welcome into Eye on Retirement, the weekly show that keeps you in the know about all things retirement. I'm your host and financial advisor, Rick Everett, along with a full complement of panelists. And if you're joining us for the very first time, welcome in. If you're one of our regular viewers, welcome back. Joining me in this show is Larry Kloefkorn, founding partner with Market Advisory Group, Joshua Cicora, the lead CPA with Market Tax Services, Bill Vawter of Market Medicare Advisors, and Gerald Eidelman, one of the attorneys with Eidelman Law Firm. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me in this show, and we've got a lot to get to, so we will. Larry, as a founding partner, as is often the case, in attendance of one of our workshops that we put on across the area, people often have the proverbial light bulb turn on after attending and thinking about all of the things that they're doing working with just an advisor, thinking about those things that might be missed as opposed to working with a full team that's looking out for the client's best interest.
Right. And, you know, we've built this business model around that very thing, is that we can provide for all types of scenarios. And 2 days ago, I met with Betty and Dawn. She retired 2 years ago, okay? She has a retirement nest egg still at her former employer. And after attending one of our educational workshops in the area, she decided that she and her husband should meet with us because of our full service approach that was mentioned at the workshop.
So she has retirement at a former employer in the form of a 401k. Where was Don in the process?
Well, Don, he was very interesting. He's a very energetic guy, and but he had noticed that everyone his age, you know, that he worked with and he intermingled with even outside of work, people his age were starting to talk about retirement. And he commented about how he always thought that seemed so far off. And so it was kind of a shock to him that now everyone, you know, that he's used to rubbing shoulders with and working with are talking about these type of topics. And, you know, further, his plan originally was to work maybe to age 75 as long as his employer of 23 years was willing to keep him. And so that was his plan. Well, all of a sudden, now this dynamic is changing around him. And his wife is suggesting, let's go to this workshop and see what we can learn.
So what were some of Betty's first questions?
Okay, so, you know, one of the things that I like to approach when I meet with someone for the first time, usually I will tell them that here we are, we're going to go into this meeting with assuming that you signed up for a meeting because you wanted to take advantage of our offer of a no obligation free consultation. And in doing that, you know, I think then the best thing to do is you probably had something in mind when you scheduled that. So let's start there. Let's talk about that. And I just let her go ahead and lead. And the first thing that she brought up is she's concerned about taxes and how it's going to affect overall their sizable estate or retirement that they've saved up. And they've done a good job. They've done a good job of saving up both pre-tax money and after-tax money. So they have a nice mixture, which is always good.
So she was kind of leading the conversation as far as her questions go, but when you're meeting with a client for the first time and you're leading the conversation, where do you normally start?
Well, I like to start with what are their goals, what are they wanting to accomplish, and what are they working with? Those are all important issues. And since she brought up tax matters, as a financial advisor, I'm limited on how much I can share. It's not that I'm unwilling to share. It's not that I don't know anything about the subject. It's just that by regulation, I'm not supposed to give tax advice because I'm not specially trained in it. So that's why it's so important that we have a full team member that we can bring in that can do that.
So in this case, did you engage Market Tax Services to get the right answers in real time?
I sure did.
Joshua, what was your role in the situation?
Yeah, so when I came in, they started asking questions about their pre-tax accounts, right? Taxes hadn't been touched on them. They knew that they were going to have to start taking distributions once they reached a certain age. And I'll be honest, if we had a nickel for every time someone's asked us something about that, well, we'd have enough nickels Uncle Sam would want a cut of it. And so we started talking about there's different types of accounts and that a good chunk of their money were saved in these pre-tax accounts. And what they're looking for is a type of an account that not only have the taxes been addressed on what you put in there, but the growth doesn't have taxes either. And they were pretty excited about that, as who wouldn't be?
Sure.
And so then we started talking about how to move the monies around. And they had this pot of money here, and they said, okay, well, you've got roughly 10 years before you have to start taking those funds out. So you could take a tenth of that out every year. And it's going to cost you different amounts every year because your income's moving still. So then that extra tenth is just going to add on. And some years it could be painful. Or when I work with Larry's clients, we have a targeted conversation to talk about not just that pot of money, but also what does your income look like? How much does this make sense to do this year versus just blindly going a chunk at a time?
And Larry, I'd have to guess that when people do become clients, this is where the tax planning really comes into play toward the end of the year.
It does, and sometimes even throughout the year, but at the end of the year is vitally important that they make, decisions then on whether they want to do any type of the tax planning that our CPA would show them is available to them. Now, another thing that is important, I think, is that if we're going to go forward and help them with an overall financial advising arrangement, smart tax planning strategies lead to strong retirement plans. So it's a key component.
Now, you noticed something about their money that we're going to discuss in the next segment that we haven't even talked about yet, correct?
Right. If taxes are the elephant in the room, what they didn't know is that it wasn't alone. Behind it was another elephant that they didn't even see yet.
When it comes to retirement planning in your case, how many sets of eyes do you have on the elephants in the room that are both seen and unseen? And if you don't have a whole team working for you, what part could you be missing? At Market Advisory Group, we practice a holistic approach to retirement planning, from the financial aspects to tax planning, Medicare advising, and estate planning. And we do it all under one roof for your convenience. Operators are standing by right now to set up a complimentary, no-obligation consultation with you. Simply call 316-252-8707 and be sure and check out our website at eyeonretirement.com. There you can catch past episodes or even submit a question there if you'd prefer. We'll be back with more Eye on Retirement right after this.
When people work with Market Advisor Group, they get a feel of sense of family. There's a lot of relationships that are made and going on in this conference room, and we really take a lot of pride in that and a lot of satisfaction in that.
Every client we work with, we make a custom-made plan to fit them and help reach their goals in life.
Another thing that makes us unique is we want to meet regularly with our clients and have reviews.
Market Advisory Group, we have a process, and the process we take people through is first to understand what they have, understand who they are, and then we put together an income plan for them and show them how they can look forward to retirement and not look, though retirement is going to be a stressful time. It needs to be a stress-free time.
A few unique features of working with Market Advisor Group is holistic in-house financial consultants. We've got an in-house CPA, Joshua, an in-house estate planning attorney, Gerald, an in-house Medicare Advisor, Bill. We rely on all of those professionals for, again, additional service within our consultative process, making sure that we've got the advice and the expertise behind the recommendations that we make.
You know, as an advisor, I'm not there to sell them one way or the other. I'm there to educate them, to let them know what their choices are. Then I try to help them make the right choice where they can save money and feel confident in their decision.
Absolutely the best part of my job is getting a stack of paperwork from somebody and they don't know what to do, and then I can turn around and give them back a tax return, but also to be able to explain what they can do next year that will give them a better answer than what they had this year.
When we've got clients that are calling and they need to help out a child or need to help out a grandchild or need to help themselves out and they're in a situation they didn't expect to be in, I really relish the opportunity to help them through that, help them make the educated decisions in somewhat stressful situations, because a lot of folks don't have that type of counsel.
We meet with so many people one-on-one in this office that don't ever end up becoming a customer or doing business with us, and that's okay. But when they leave our office, we know that we've helped them either get some answers to some of the questions they had or get some clarity on maybe their own path.
But one of the things that we hear all the time is, I wish I would have met you guys 10 years ago, because how much further could I be down the road? Well, Johnny Appleseed said, you know, when's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. And so if we can help people today going forward, that just brings an incredible amount of comfort and excitement for us to come to work every day.
Hi, and welcome back into Eye on Retirement. In this edition, we're visiting about Don and Betty, and they're clients of Larry's that he got together with for the first time here just recently. And Larry, if you will, kind of set the stage of where we were at and where it went with the white elephant in the room.
Right. So we were talking about taxes, and Joshua had come in and had addressed some different things. But one of the things I noticed in the summary that they were showing me about their finances and their savings and where monies are at is, of their 1.1 million, they had over 51% in CDs. And it just so happened that what they used for CDs was non-qualified money. Now, if that's a term that you might not be familiar with, what that means is it's not an actual retirement account. So it's post-tax money, after-tax money that's been put in there. Well, that has a big influence on CD rates. Right now, people are seeing billboards around the city locations and around the state, and you know, CDs look more enticing than they've been in the past. And so, you know, one of the things that people need to know is when you're not, or when you are using non-qualified money or non-retirement money, that rate that they signed up for, they're truly not getting that.
Explain that.
Because they get a 1099 at the end of the year that has growth on it, that shows the growth during that period. And, you know, this is an area that I could explain a little more about that, but I think it'd be great for Joshua, you know, to explain to our viewers exactly why that is a detriment.
So Joshua, we see the billboards, we see the TV commercials offering a 4.0% rate or whatever the case might be on a certificate of deposit. Mm-hmm. But explain to us where the factoid is that they may not be getting that full rate.
Yeah. So if you get a CD, and unless you're getting that 4% rate, right? That's great. You're getting 4% interest. Like on Larry said, you get a 1099. Hey, look at all this interest I earned. But then here comes, you know, big bad Uncle Sam, and he says, hey, congratulations, you earned 4%. But I see here you're in a 22% tax bracket. So you got to give me some of that. And now that 4% rate just became 3%. And then, this gets piled in with all your other income. So if you've, got half your money there in CDs, that could drive up the taxes on other pieces of your income as well.
Larry, I'm hearing a lot about clients coming in and they think they've finally found the safe haven of where this market has kind of been going in a downward trend of late. But what are some other considerations about CDs that people should have in mind?
Well, and you are right that a lot of people go to CDs because of safety. We used to say, before the rates came up, following the Federal Reserve raising rates, we used to say that CDs were going broke safely. Well, there's another problem, though, that people oftentimes experience, and that is buyer's remorse. Okay, so how often have you heard that term related to CDs? But here's how it figures in. I hear from the people all the time about this. Yeah, I signed up for a CD and locked it in for a certain amount of time, but I did it at 3.9 or I did it at 4%, and now it's 4.5%. So they have buyer's remorse. They're locked in at this now what turns out to be a lower rate. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I believe is in their best interest is to explore other avenues. And for instance, one of those is something that also has the same safety, so it has a floor. It's not actually in the market, okay? So it's safe, but yet it's tax deferred, which addresses the issues that Joshua was explaining.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's tax deferred. They don't get a 1099 on it just because it was growing throughout the year. And then the other thing is they have the opportunity to actually do much better than what any of the CD rates out there are.
In addition to the buyer's remorse of, I locked in this CD at 3.75 and now they're up to 4. Another form of buyer's remorse is that I've heard around the conference tables is, I wish I would have come talk to you guys before I locked up my money in these CDs.
Right. Yeah. Oftentimes we have that very same thing, and they're smart in saying that and admitting that because there are options that give better upside and are more rate friendly and tax friendly.
Let me change streams for just a minute. Bill Vawter with Market Medicare Advisors. Larry tells me that both of these individuals were going to turn 64 this year, okay? So possibly the most often asked questions about Medicare is, when do I need to sign up, whether or not they're working?
All right, well that's
it's a loaded question. I'll admit it.
And that's why you're here.
It's a loaded question. All right, so there's an open enrollment period to go on Medicare. It's a 7-month window. It's 3 months before, the month of, 3 months after. But you have to take into account, am I continuing to work? Am I covered by group insurance? Or perhaps my spouse is working and I'm covered under my spouse's group insurance. A lot of people think they have to register for Medicare as they are approaching 65 or in that 7-month window, or they will be penalized later on down the road when they do register for Medicare. And there's a lot of misinformation going on out there. If they're covered by group insurance, they do not have to register for Medicare, so long as they are covered by group insurance. If they are not covered by group insurance, then yes, they do need to get signed up for Medicare, or they would be penalized later. There's more to this. I don't know how deep you want me to get into it with you today.
Moderately deep, just moderately.
All right. I always encourage people to weigh this subject out. I mean, when the time comes, weigh out the cost and the benefit of the group insurance against the cost and the benefit of using Medicare. Some people have a group insurance plan that is really strong and the employer covers almost all of their costs. Well, then it's kind of hard to compete with free. And so you might want to stay on that group insurance. On the other hand, sometimes they have to cover a lot of that and the insurance isn't that great. They might be able to get better coverage using Medicare and at a lower rate. And so it's one of those things you really need to take the time and take a strong look at it, weigh it out, talk to somebody that can explain it to you, and make an educated decision about it.
Thank you, Bill. As you can see, having the whole team working for you can unearth situations that you may not even know are existing. And wouldn't you rather find out before than after that you may have overlooked something? At Market Advisory Group, the whole team goes to work to ensure that we're providing you with the best road for a successful retirement as possible. If you'd like to set up a complimentary, no obligation consultation, operators are standing by right now to take your call at 316-252-8707. Again, that's 316-252-8707. And be sure and check out our website at ionretirement.com. We'll wrap up this show, and we'll do that right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Hi, and welcome back in as we wrap up this edition of Ion Retirement with our final segment. We're visiting about Don and Betty, clients of Larry Kloefkorn with Market Advisory Group. Larry, there was one other matter that came up in this first appointment, and I'd love for you to share that with our viewers.
Yeah, and questions like this, I'm asked on a regular occurrence. So when you're working with a financial advisor who can bring in specialists of a given field, that's a tremendous advantage to the client. So Betty informed me that they have a will that was created about 20 years ago. And she framed it this way. She says, we like our will exactly the way it is. We just need to add someone to it. Well, I could have dug a little bit about what she meant by that, but really, that's something for our attorney and estate planner to address.
Gerald Eidelman with Eidelman Law Firm. Share with us, how does that work when somebody has a will that's 20 years old, which I already know is longer than it should be without a review, but how does it work when you need to add somebody or desire to add somebody as a beneficiary?
Well, making changes to a will is not very complicated. You do an amendment, which is called a codicil, and you just simply add or subtract a person. But when you have a will that is this old, there's more to it than just this person needs to be added. There's going to be things that are not relevant anymore. Perhaps you did 20 years ago when your children were minors and you had it set up so that the children would only get so much money at the time. Other times, the law has changed. And one of the things that people don't realize when they think about a will is the fact that wills go through probate. And so, yes, they had a will and they could pass, their assets through the will, their home, their CDs, but they were going to be in court to do that. They were going to have to submit the case. They were going to have to get authorization from the court. and they were going to publicize this for everybody to know what their kids got. And so in their case, it was more expedient to have a trust that kept things simple, where you could pass on the assets directly to the kids without any intervention of the court, no public knowledge, no, and of course, little to no attorney fees. Sometimes I tell people, going through probate, it's a minimum of $2,000 to $4,000 endeavor from attorney fees wise. So in this case, I advised them that a trust would be more important. Clearly, after 20 years, they had also old powers of attorney, and these become stale. It's not unusual for different people who are looking at powers of attorney in financial institutions, medical personnel, whatever, to look at the power of attorney and say, oh, this is 20 years old, this is not really up to date, there's something not right, which is not true. The powers of attorney are really good for life, but it happens that, people sometimes bucket it when they see a document that's that old. So I suggested to them that they should update their powers of attorney, because these are very relevant, and it would prevent them from being caught in a situation where they couldn't exercise the other spouse couldn't exercise the rights of incapacitated spouse.
And real quick, just for viewers who may not have caught it on a previous show, how often should a will be reviewed?
Yes, I recommend about 3 to 5 years to have your documents reviewed, whether it be wills or trust or what have you.
Thank you, Gerald. As you can see from this show and many of our shows, having a whole team going to work for you rather in retirement is crucial, because you don't want to leave a piece unturned, a piece that could either save you money or save your heirs money down the road. At Market Advisory Group, we practice that holistic approach to retirement planning, whether it is the financial end, the estate planning, as we just visited with Gerald, tax planning, or Medicare advising, and we do it all under one roof for your convenience. Operators are standing by right now to take your call at 316-252-8707 for a complimentary, no-obligation consultation. That's all the time we have this week. I'm Rick Everett, along with the entire panel here, reminding you that we're here to keep an eye on retirement.
This broadcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns are not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.